Now, please start your lesson. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can see my my video all right
Yes.
from your end, and I can see many of you, and I can see the names. So welcome to the class. My name is Pamela. I'm a artist, and I paint in different mediums. But today we are going to start our session, and we will do a session today in using pencil and do some basic shapes and try to put together a landscape. Okay. So I am going to switch my camera at this point so that you can take a look at my workstation. Okay. So I do have some of these pencils ready. This is a lot more pencil than you require. I happen to have them, so I'm going to select maybe a simple one from. I have sharpened them all, so they are ready for. So one of the important thing is you need quite a bit of this lead showing so that you can do your marks through the tip of the pencil or from the side, right? So I have that, and then I have a couple of B pencils, which are which happen to be 2B, 3B, 5B, and 7B. I will keep one, maybe the 2B at my disposal for now. And I also have, so yeah, so we can just go with that. So I have that, and then you will need an eraser. And I just use the back of my pencils, if I need to erase something. And I do have other drawing tools such as stubs of graphite, but we're not going to use that today. I just want to show you what other drawing tools one could use. And you don't require it for this class. So I have this graphite, block of graphite. I also have charcoal pencils. I have a blending tool. I sometimes also keep a ruler near me, just in case. So these are some basic tools that one could use while trying to put together a drawing. You could use a plain copier paper, or you could use a sketchbook. When we talk about the quality of the paper, it's the tooth of the paper that plays a role. And it's a little bit of a interaction between the pencil and the paper, the tooth of the paper. If you rub your pencil too hard, it will destroy the tooth of the paper. So try and layer your pencil marks so that you are using a very gentle touch, So I'm just creating some marks here. I could do it this way. Like when I try to do a sphere, I could go really light and layer the pencil marks like this, right? So you're encouraged to do that from your end. So try that on the paper using the pencil that you have. So this is very, very lightly touching the paper and creating the shade, right? Now I could go with the tip of my pencil and create the shape, right? So, and then somebody could use a blending tool to blend the pencil. Or you could use your finger, but the finger also destroys the tooth of the paper. So just be a little careful. A blending tool is a good idea. Or you could use a paper napkin, wrap it around your pencil, and that becomes a good blending tool also. If you don't have a blending tool, that's a good way to do it. So that's blended, right? And then you could use an eraser to create a mark. Of course, you can use the eraser to correct your drawing, but you could also use the eraser to correct your, put a mark. See how I created a shade just by removing the pencil mark? So you could create the three-dimensionality of the object, right? And then come back, and you can use the blending tool to also create a shape around this area. Now, that worked out okay, but I would also advise you, if you have a shape, and if you scribble, right? If you just scribble on it to fill this up, it creates marks that you may or may not want because it doesn't create the shade accurately. So you wouldn't do that, right? So you would rather, you know, go a very gentle approach, a very uniform approach, maybe from the side of your pencil and just go in one direction and create the form looking like this, right? I encourage you to try that along with me on the paper that you have and create this shape, okay? And then if you don't have a blending tool, that's okay. Let's just use the finger today. And there it is, okay? And then you would come and create a darker area to indicate the shadow. So I'm just creating a different kind of value, which is the shadow, light and the shadow, right? I encourage you to try that at your end also. So I'm just trying to do that. That's my sphere. And that same token, you can also try to experiment if you can create a shadow of this. Okay. So that's a shape, a sphere, and its shadow. Right? So in this example, in this small example, we just saw how I used a regular HB pencil and a 2B pencil, and I used the blending tool, and I used an eraser to create shapes like this and shadows and played with it a little bit, right? So now we're going to go into creating some more defined shapes, right? For example, now I'll take it a little bit more step by step. So I'll start with my HB pencil, and I will do the sphere one more time. Well, let me try to draw and separate these shapes a little bit. So I'll draw it freehand, or if you are not good with freehand, you could try to use a lid of a bottle and okay. And then I'll try to create the shadow area of that sphere in this case. I'm thinking the light is coming from this end. And I'm going to create the shadow. I'll create the cast shadow of the sphere. I'm going to blend it. I'm going to darken this. Okay. And I will try to create a little bit darker area in this, because if you observe a sphere, it has a darker area a little bit away from this end where the form is turning. And you can achieve that by just darkening this entire area. You can darken this entire area, blend it, and then remove some of the pencil using an eraser. And that is your reflected light. Because this area of the sphere is facing this surface, and this surface is getting light, right? It's the light is hitting this surface, and this light is going to get reflected on this surface here, and this is called reflected light. So that's why this bottom area of this sphere is a bit lighter than anywhere else. Okay. These are very simple concepts of drawing, really, and you're gonna not need them all the time, but it's good to understand them. So there, that's the bottom of the sphere and the shadow. Next, if we go to look at a cube, right? A cube would be, is also a three-dimensional object, just like a sphere. But I do have corners and things like that. And the cube sides of the cube are the same length and width. So it's like a square, right? And I'm doing the other side. And this is the back side of the cube. These lines, they run parallel to each other. And these lines, they run parallel to each other, okay? So if I'm to think that the light is hitting the cube from that side, right? My surface over here is the darkest. Shadow will be cast on this side. Depending on where the light is, the shape of the shadow may change, but let's suppose it's coming square on, and then so this is your shadow for the cube. I'll just gently darken some of the areas here. So this is the other one. So, and then this wall is gonna get some of the light. So it's a little bit lighter, okay? So I could use my finger at this point and get rid of some of the lines that the pencil made and revisit this again one more time, darken this area and re-establish my lines, right? So that's how it is. And this is the darkest area of the cube. Okay. We can also do the same. So I'm gonna do a cylinder. So I'll give you a moment to catch up on that and take a couple minutes, and then we're gonna go to the next shape. So we did a sphere and a cube so far, okay? And take a few minutes and put that in. So we'll do a cylinder now, which has two round surfaces, and then I have this area. Okay. And then this kind of goes to the back, and like that happens, right? So now I'm going to shade this area. So I just go and use my pencil just like that. Use my finger to create the shadow of this surface, right? And then darken this area a little bit more. So I have that, okay? Then if the light is being cast from this side, there'll be a shadow here. And the shadow is probably gonna be this kind of shape. Right? So, and then we can do a pyramid kind of shape where I have triangular surfaces meeting each other. There. The back, it will really look like that. And it has a square base, right? If the light is coming from this side, this is darker. Again, following the same process, I would just blend this in a bit to get rid of some of the line marks. And then I'd go in and darken it a bit, darken more at the base, right? And I would, if the light is coming from that side, it's gonna create a shadow area here, somewhere here. Okay, so those of you who are doing this along with me, take a moment and put that in. And I'll stop for a couple minutes. And then we'll go over to the next shape. Which is a which is also like a which is called a cone, right? It has a round shape at the bottom, and it's like a cylinder, but it comes up and it meets the entirety of the whole thing meets at the top, right? So if I am to do this here, um, that's that's the bottom here, the round part. And then I have the cone here. You establish the roundness of the object by putting the pencil marks like that. See how I'm just coming at this angle? Because I want to establish that how the surface is turning there. Okay. And then I'll come and I'll erase them all a little bit, erase the lines a little bit. Establish the dark shape at the bottom. The light is coming from that side. So my shadow is gonna be somewhere here. You can also clean up some of the blending that I just did because some of the graphite came to this side. And then I would go and clean up this area where there could be some reflection of light. And then I would go and improve this a little bit. This part is really dark and the shadow like that. Okay, so these are like some basic shapes that one could try. And you know, and many of these will come to use when you're doing actual landscape and all that, right? So if you put all of this together, right, there could be a full summary of this whole thing where you do a sphere, a cube, so I have overlapping shapes here, right? So the shapes, the sphere and this cube is overlapping, and I could have a cylinder here, right? And then I could have a cone here, right? So now suddenly I've used all of these shapes to create uh, a little, um, you know, a little drawing that of overlapping shapes. And then in some cases, their shadows will overlap with each other, and it becomes a more complicated drawing, right? So then you can have fun that way. And now you have to think about in all of these objects where the light is coming from, right? So suppose the light is coming from um, the front, right? So the light is hitting them on this side, right? So then um, actually let's think of the light is coming a little bit from this side so that it becomes more interesting. So now I have the shadow side of the sphere. This side is getting less light. This cylinder is getting less light over here. The cone is going to be darker on this side, and the sphere again is darker on this side. And all of this is going to cast shadows on each other. And it's very difficult to understand how the shadows are going to look in a complicated drawing like this, right? This is complicated, right? So the shadow of the sphere is going to fall on the square, and the cone and the cylinder is going to cast a shadow to the back of all of this. And this cone is going to cast a shadow at the very back side, and then this sphere is going to cast a shadow here. But and a setup like this, um, it requires a proper setup, right? To understand the light and the shadows properly. So that's why people would do still life setup, and they would do still life drawing from an actual scene, right? So this is a complicated setup, and all of this has bearing on each other, right? They're all affecting each other. The light is hitting from this side. The shadow of this sphere is definitely going to fall on this object here. And it's difficult for me to understand how the shape is going to look like. So that's why people would set up a full arrangement like this with the actual setup of objects. And what you learned today about these objects, that's the basic. And then if you want to do more with the shapes, you could set up something like this with some objects around that you find, and then understand how the light and shadow is going to affect each other and how the whole scene is going to look, right? So that's what we have till now. So I'll give you a moment to catch up and see if you can put together a scene like this just from imagination, where different shapes are overlapping with each other. Some is at the back, some is in the front, and see how you like doing that, right? So I'm gonna improve this my drawing a little bit. Mm, okay, and with that, we are now going to um, switch to a real life, a more realistic drawing um, of a scenery. Okay. So um, I'm going to do 2 sceneries today using pencil. And you can do this along with me. So this is the area that I'm going to work with. And the paper is, I would say, about 6 inches by 6 or 7 inches. Okay, so it's a very small area, but I'm keeping it in a portrait format, right? And I'll think about, there is something called rule of third, where I will divide my picture plane by by 2 lines, right? An approximation is okay. So this is I'm dividing my space up into 3 verticals and 3 horizontals, right? And then and this is called the rule of third, right? And these points where things intersect is where you'd want to place something. These could be the focal point areas, right? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 areas, right, in my paper that I'm going to place something. Now I'm going to do a little house, and I will try and think, should the house be placed right in the middle, or should I place it a little bit off center? Putting something right in the middle is generally not a good idea. It's better if we try to put it in, have some portion of the house in this area or this area, right, in the focal point area. So with that, I will try and create a little cottage-like scene where I have a roof. Now this is like a rectangle here, right? I'm doing a rectangle there. This is like a shape, like a cube almost, but then some part of it is covered with the roof, right? So you won't be able to see everything and it will look like this, okay? So this is the house. And I could try to make it look real fancy. Like, let's start with simple. Let's start with a very simple idea and then see where we can take it. Okay, so you're gonna do your basic big shapes first, right? So this is one shape, and then I defined this shape, and then I defined this third wall, right? So I basically have 1, 2, and 3 shapes here, right? And then I have, of course, the other side of the roof over here. So I have that line, right? So I have the heart here, and then this is a field next to the heart, right? And then I'm gonna do a line here, which indicates a path, just from the side of my pencil, just a little bit to the flat side, and also using some of the tip. So then I would go and just create this path here. Okay. And this is the area where the field next to the house, it ends there. And then we will have some trees there. The trees are shaped like this. Try and draw it in. Different kinds of trees, and we will do that. But the trees are overlapping with each other. Like we just did the shapes that overlapped with each other. Here, the trees are overlapping with each other. So I'm just going to do that at the back. Take a moment to catch up at your end, and I'm just going to erase some of the lines from here. Okay. So we will create a few different kind of trees at the back. Like there is this pine trees at the back, right? They're kind of shaped like triangles, but with squiggly edges, right? Very simple, really. And then I could have a tall tree here. You don't want the tree to look like ice cream with proper, just exactly like, you don't want the tree to look like this. Just break up the shape a little bit. So I have 2 or 3 different kind of trees here. Maybe there is some small bushes here. I'll just put those in. Okay. So that's a very simple drawing in pencil, right? I hope you're able to put that together on your end. And here is 2 windows here. And we definitely need a door of a house. And maybe there is a window here on this side too. I'll put some window panes. Okay, so I will now use the flat side of my pencil, and perhaps you have a bigger pencil. For example, uh, maybe some of you have a 7B or a 5B. You could use that to, and so go vertical like this to create the shadow, to create the vertical trees, okay? But some of you may not have these heavier pencils, the B pencils. So I'll just come and use a regular pencil, okay, which is a HB pencil from my side. And then I would just create the vertical trees over here and see how my pencil is moving vertically. So I would create the marks or the paint. In this case, it's the pencil mark. Pencil is my painting tool today. So I'm just going with the form, right? And the form is up and down like that. So There, I have that. I could now use my finger to blend it in a bit. And then I would come and I would create darker marks in the bottom. That's that for the background trees. I'll create some of these. This is like a barn, so it has got wooden slats. And then the slats on this side, they're facing that way. So I just did that. And the roof it has got, maybe I'll just create the tiles like that. Just working on my trees a little bit. Working on the flat area of the plane. Blend it in a bit. You can also use your finger for that. Everything is being done very, very light touch, right? I'm not going really deep into the paper. So I have a lot more room left to put extra layers on top of it. Because my tooth of the paper is still very intact. So I'll come in and darken the trees a little bit more. So that's my first scenery. I like to put a border around most of my drawings. And then there. Okay. So I'm going to come and put some textures around like grass and things growing with the tip of my pencil and just go and make really small marks to just create some basic textures around it. More textures in the front because as you go to the back, it's going to look more flat, right? You'll be able to see the textures in the front more. The path will also have some texture. I'll be doing that with the tip of my pencil. Yeah. Darken this area a little bit. To do some textures here. I could do, there's a lot of space left here. I was wondering if I could do a well, like over here. So because it's in the front, there is gonna be there is a lot of it's gonna be a bit bigger, right? So something like around here, and then I have the walls, and I have a structure like this where there are two ends. Then I have these are holding it up. And here is a sort of a triangle here. You don't have to put in the well if you don't like. It could get a bit complicated, okay? But just to explain shapes a little bit, I'll do that. And you can ignore this part. And also because I had so much space, I didn't know what to do with it. So I am doing that. So this is the mouth of the well. And I'm just gonna do some stone structures over here, like little stone wall. And the side of this well is like a cylinder, isn't it? What we just did a few moments back. So this is gonna look like a little bit darker on both sides, like this, to give it to make it look like a cylinder. It's darker on these sides, right? And then I would go and just make it look like that. Very rustic looking, you know. That's the well. And then this is the uh, cover, one that goes on the top, like that. Make these a little bit wider. And there is that thing, the one that holds the container and the rope, right? And then I would darken these lines a little bit, all by using a simple pencil. You see how nice, what a nice drawing you can put together with very little supply, really. It's a very meditative process where um, you get to explore creativity in a very simplistic way using just a pencil drawing. And this one is probably some kind of little. Okay. So I'll let you catch up whatever you want to do. So I have a house and then I have a hut, more like a cabin, little cabin, and and a well in the front. Um, I'm gonna do some bigger grass here because it's in the front, so I'll see the ground a little bit more over here, just like that. Okay. So um, yeah, that's about it. And then I'll just maybe create some interest on this path, like maybe there is some grass growing in the path here. And maybe there is some wildflowers growing, and you can just do some little, see how I did the little flower on this side. Just pencil it in a bit. There is, you can see the leaves a little bit clearer. Maybe there is a little leaf that you can see here. There's a bigger flower growing here. So you can make up the scene, right? So you can work on the stones a little bit more, like I'm just creating more texture on the stones. Right? I'd like to work a little bit more on these distant trees. Create a little bit variation of the values over here. Some are darker than the others. There is some tree branches which has leaves cutting through the sky. I could do some of that to break up the space a little bit. Maybe run a branch through over there. Just create some variation of your landscape. Just some overhangs and leaves at the back. Then you could use your finger, or you can use your blending paper or blending stump to darken some of these areas. And yeah, so that's about it, right? So that's one of my sketch today. I hope you enjoyed it. Break up the space a little bit, some shadows, and just create some interest around this area. Okay, so that's about it. Just wrap it up by creating a nice dark border around it. Okay, so that was one of them. And then, how are we doing on time? I do have some time. I can do another little sketch of a very different landscape, but hope you enjoy this one. We do have time to put one in, so I'll try and do that. So in this case, I'm going to see if I can put together a landscape that has to do with mountains and some water. So I will try and keep that a very small landscape as well. I'll try and keep it in a portrait format, but maybe in this space here. Something like that. And I am going to put together a scenery of, so again, I'm going to think about my picture plane and the rule of third, and I try to put something in my focal points which are about in these areas. So really have some mountains going through these areas. Then I will probably have some trees growing through these areas, and probably have a lake going through this area. And I have some trees, a lake. So this area is going to be the water. And here is my nice, beautiful, lofty mountains. So put shadow this, shade this in to understand a little bit. Just going to so I did a few structures like mountains in the distance. And I did just trying to now a valley under the mountain, and then the valley is there, and there is the lake over here, and then a row of trees. Okay, very simple scene, right? Okay, put that in, and then I'll give you a few minutes to catch up on that. And then I will try and create some darks and lights in this whole mountain. So there is all these trees growing, and I'll see how I'm working with my pencil. I'll just create some areas of darks and lights, right? And this is also going to define the shape of the mountain a little bit. There. So these are different greeneries growing on the mountain. Okay, put that in. And then this is the valley, right? And there is a hut, that the same hut that we did, not the same hut, but maybe a hut over there, just so that we that shows some human presence, right? Like a few little structures, say man-made structures, few little structures on this valley, right? Work on my trees a little bit. The pine trees, tall pine trees standing here by the side of the lake. And these are some bushes on this side. Darken this a bit. Okay. And then here is my water. Create some effects of some light and shadow in the water. Effect of some waves in the water. Just use the pencil to create some effects of light and shadow in the water. And ripples in the water. The streams of current flowing through the water. Just creating some effects of darkness and lightness. Just using my pencil to create that effect. It also breaks up the space a little bit so that it doesn't look all white or all black. It has a variation of colors and in this case just black and white ranges of values, right? Some areas are darker than the other. And I'm just creating that effect by so some lines are sharper than others, some are more blunt, some are wider. So variety of marks, right? Just like when you paint, you're going to have a variety of brush marks. So when we use a pencil, we can do the same. Then on the front, I may have some effects of like grass growing in right in front of where the viewer is. So I'll just do these little scribbles with my pencil to show that here is a piece of land where you're observing, you're standing and observing the scene, right? That. Then I could come and just spread my finger, like with my finger, I can spread the colors, the graphite on the sky, make it darker. And then I could come and I could remove some of them to create the effect of cloud. So I'm removing the graphite to create the effect of cloud, okay? I hope you can see it over the camera. And then I'm gonna create some darker areas in the cloud so that, it gives a little bit of variation and like that. It's like a floating cloud, right? And then to wrap it up, I could have some birds like V's, little V's, right? Flying. So here, I'm going to put it close to the camera. So this is what I did with this sky. I blended the graphite and then I removed to create the cloud, and then I created a outline, and then I put in some birds. So I have mountains in the background with some bushes and faraway trees, right? And then I have trees in the front, which are bigger. And then I have water and with ripples in them. And then I have the grass in front of me. So you can now sign your work because we are done. I've done a few different things today. We have created these shapes, right? The sphere, the shadows, the cylinder, the cone, the pyramid, the cube, and overlapping shapes, right? We did that, and then we worked on two sketches where we did one scenery with a little hut, like a log cabin, right? And a path and a well in the front. And so that was the second thing that we did today. And so you can improve this a little bit, like you can create more detail around this whole area. The trees can be defined more, right? These are overhanging branches of trees. I can do some branches here that are so I have those, and then I have the well here. There are little what are these called, planks, little planks of wooden slats, on the top. I have these things that are holding up the structure. And you could have a lot more fun with it, try to create more texture on this well, like on the stones. A little bit more wouldn't hurt. Yeah. Okay, so that was the second sketch that we did. And then we worked on a little scenery of a mountain range, and um, you know, a very vast western scenery, like with the mountains and the valley and the little structures, and then there is the lake. And I have the grass in front of me, the little bushes and the leaves and all that. And then we blended the sky to make it a bit gray, and then removed the graphite using the eraser to create the clouds. And then I have some birds. So that was the second scenery. And this whole process, I used a couple of pencils, Bending stamp or my fingers, and then a ruler was used in some cases. And that's pretty much it. So we have a few minutes left for the class, and so for the next class, we'll probably stick with the pencil, and maybe I will introduce how to use the pen to create some pencil and pen drawings. And yeah, so that is the plan for now. So with that, I'm going to switch my camera. And
Thank you very much. It's very good, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Pamela.
thank you.